Yep. And I'm going to hand it over to our speakers.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Oh, we're all good. Thank you. Well, great introduction. Thank you, Kat. So, Paul, we're going to talk about giving days. Are they worth it? We're going to we're going to answer that question from our own experience right at the end. You may guess where we're coming from early on, though. Okay. So, thought it'd be really good to find out where we are as a group with giving days. So we've got a little poll, I believe. Who's done a giving day? Paul. Be really nice to get a feel for who who out there has done a giving day. Have you done several? Have you done one? Are you thinking about it? And are you not even considering it? And if you're not even considering it and you're here, I'll be polite and not ask why you're here. But maybe you're just looking to confirm why you don't want to do one. I don't know. But we'll probably change your mind if the answer is it's worth it. I don't want to give anything away there. So, great. That's a very interesting set of responses. So we've got 14 people thinking about it. Great. Or more than 50% thinking about it. No one's not even considering it. Good. We're not wasting anyone's time here. Excellent. So it's a good mix. 6 people have done several. Great. We're going to share some great insight here. Fantastic. Should we do the next question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this one's for those of you that have done a giving day. Do you think that it was worth it? I suppose those of you who've done several, you'd assume would say yes, but we'll find out. It looks like
Resounding.
most of you think it was worth it.
Encouraging. Encouraging. Wow. So we got a flavor for where people are at. Great. Should we dive into some of our experience?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, great. Yeah. Fantastic. So we'll just start off with why we did it. Maybe you were doing this for, maybe some of the reasons are similar to the ones you had if you've done one. We saw other people do it. What more reason do some people need when they do things in HE fundraising? We do copy each other a lot, and that's a good thing. We're a collaborative community. We need more reasons than that, though. With our leadership, we have to jump through quite a few hoops to get the green light for things. We did hear our leadership speaking about wanting to shift the dial digitally. So, there was a bit of a groundswell of movement towards this. And of course, the decision was taken during the pandemic. We saw the pandemic driving consumer, leisure, and education behavior online. Fundraising, of course, started to follow. We're going to pick up on that point a little bit later, actually, because some people might think, is a pandemic necessary? Do you need a pandemic for a giving day? I'll touch on that a little bit later. I'll say the conditions for giving days. I won't give that away just yet. So the telethon was drying up as a new donor source. Okay, it was saturated. We had lots of compliance issues, and the pandemic really did reduce the whole viability of telethon. Even had the pandemic not happened, I think we would have been clinging on ever more desperately to telethon as it was. No, I'm not saying we're not doing telethon again, but when we do pick it back up, it's going to be quite different. And when we first considered the concept in the depths of that pandemic, the idea of a digital festival of giving made a lot of sense. there was a tangible need to reconnect and be positive, and this seemed by far the best way to go about that. Okay, so there were quite a few barriers, weren't there, and hoops to jump through. There were some people and some barriers in front of us. I think if you do anything new, and if you haven't done a giving day before, or if it's some time ago in the past, you'll be introducing something that's quite different to what people are used to. Okay, so I think you need to have a strong, durable argument and be ready and be determined to keep pressing forward your case for doing one. We did have initial concerns over cost. There's a certain outlay. I think it's kind of compared to some of the costs for other appeals, it's quite reasonable, really, but it's new outlay, of course. We were already running some successful appeals, and the question was asked, do we really have to do more? Do we really have to do something different? Okay, so we had to really get a solid argument together. And of course, if you don't have the infrastructure in place to run a giving day, you'll be approaching people with quite a lot of complexity, and you'll be asking people to learn new things. And here's this one. I think this might give some people sleepless nights. With a giving day, you're courting public failure, okay? You are putting yourself out there and asking people to validate you in full view of everybody else. Now, there are ways of making sure that you don't fail, or looking like you don't fail, of course, but I think people can see if it's a resounding success or not, no matter what. So how successful was our day? Well, it was very successful. So we've got some numbers here for you. And we've got quite a lot of number lovers on the here, I'm sure. We'll have to know about, we all get excited about this stuff. So let's just go through some of these. We got lots of donations. We sailed past our target in terms of donation numbers. Now, our target was based on a simulation, and that was done during the depths of the pandemic, the simulation. When on the eve of the actual day, it took a long time to get to the point where we could actually do the day. The cost of living crisis had hit, and we were quite worried about whether we could hit these targets. We sailed straight past them. And the revenue was much greater than we thought as well. We bargained on getting, say, about an average of £50 a donation. We doubled that on average. We got some big gifts in, partly driven by some extra challenge funding. Really, really exciting stuff. Absolutely delighted with the figures. A couple of things here that really stand out to me and really excite me. The fact that the average age of our giving day donor was markedly lower than our direct mail donor. That's currently our other major appeal. And it really does measure up favorably with that. 57.7, 5% of those under 30s against 69 for our direct mail. So we're bringing new blood into the pool. Pretty pleased with that. Also a good first time donor retention. 20%. I think the industry average is 15%. Previously, we were lower. This is not first-time donor retention just from the giving day, let me say. This is how it impacts our overall regular giving figures. For FY21, we were on 13% first-time donor retention. The giving day helped push it right up to 20%. So very, very valuable indeed. And the return on investment was positive too. Nearly £2.50, would have been more than £3.50 without our startup costs. We spent a bit of money on a logo. The logo was was worth investing in, wasn't it? Yeah. I think. So yeah,
we did pay an agency to do a video for us too, which cost a fair amount, and we probably wouldn't do again. So yeah, that would find alternative ways of doing that to make the ROI look a little bit better.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Indeed, and we're looking at having more time to create content. If we do another one, if we finally realize at the end that the giving day was worth it, I don't want to give anything away there. So And all these gifts were made by the platform, all via the platform. We didn't sprinkle in gifts from other appeals, and that is something you can do. But we got all these gifts direct from the platform. We had our 45-day countdown phase, which did give us a really, really good start. We built up that social proof. And actually touching on that on the next screen. Now we did start off with 0 donations, and we steadily built up our total. We built up the social proof organically. Now that is risky, but it did help us communicate a genuine sense of urgency. And it did, you know, and the targets we reported back to internally, they were, they were genuinely impactful. We didn't have to take any amounts of money from other appeals or anything like that. Now, that is something that some people do. It's the safer option, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you have, of course, if you have agreements from donors to use their gifts to, you know, encourage more giving, of course. But yeah, we started off from 0 and built up that organic proof, and it worked for us. What's the term? The early
adopters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Early adopters. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, of course, you know, we used our challenge giving and matched giving was very, very important, but none of those totals came in until the real gifts started coming. Okay. So some other points: many alumni who we had no contact with ever or for a long time came forward. We also had new major gift prospects. We had 10 unexpected 4-figure gifts. So clearly wealthy people, none of which had been engaged by actually one of these was in a portfolio, but the rest were not in major gift portfolios. These people stepped forward with these large gifts. Some very interesting people, very wealthy ones. Most of them very wealthy ones. Response from alumni associated, we had a really good response from an alum associated with a very big foundation. We'd failed to communicate with anybody associated with that foundation until the giving day. And we actually went ahead and asked them for feedback on the day and why they gave, and they were very responsive. So we've got some really, really juicy morsels of contact there that we're hoping to turn into something. So we wouldn't have had any inroad into this foundation without that day. It'd be priceless. And we had gifts from 6 countries we've never received gifts from. So as you know, Nottingham is the UK's global university, and that helped us live up to our name. We had about nearly 100 gifts internationally, and so that was really exciting. Gifts from Nepal, Lithuania. We'd never had gifts from those places before. And we engaged younger alumni. Now, the average age for one of our courses was actually 20 years less than our average direct mail age, which is really exciting stuff. We had like 89 gifts to our mental health course, and so average age of about 50. Incredible. So really making inroads into that younger audience. So another indicator of success, I think, is the fact that we made a mark within our university. I think we kind of raised our profile amongst the people who we rely on to wave in revenue and spread the good name of our team. So we were noticed by our leadership, vice chancellors, our executive board picked up on some of our heritage angle communications. A lot of those people love that kind of thing. We got noticed by a lot of people, and it's also made a mark with our student community. The Students' Union worked with us, and they were excited by us. We've opened up communication with our Nightline volunteer service. Some of you may have a Nightline volunteer service on campus. We championed their work for our mental health cause, and a lot of people came out of the woodwork to celebrate that and support it. And I'll say, you know, on a campus, you have all these student societies. These student societies, they are, in essence, they're free energy for you to use. If you can tap into them, they can really help give you so much momentum. And it's a win-win relationship you can develop with these guys. They can get publicity for their societies amongst alumni. And of course, they can get that philanthropic glow. And you, in turn, can get grassroots energy and authenticity in your messaging from these guys. So it was a really good way to engage with the people that, let's face it, the people that our alumni are most interested in, the students. Okay. Yeah, our whole office bought right into it. It was quite a buzz, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. It did feel like what's the phrase, a digital festival of giving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Oh, just a quick point on this. Okay, so the decision to, I said I'd mention just something about the pandemic. The decision to run the Giving Day was made during the pandemic, but it was delivered 11 months after after the last lockdown. So, the pandemic-related exodus to the digital world, it did recede, and it has receded to some degree. But more of us are back telethoning now. But a lot of those new digital habits remain, even amongst older alumni. And if you've woken up digital potential, why put it back to sleep? So I'd say, post-pandemic, Giving Days are still very, very relevant. And there was a really interesting piece of insight shared by More Partnership just around Christmas. Some of you may have got their gift of insights. One of those insights is that the ability to adapt to change and not just run along according to 5-year plans, etc. If you develop some sort of Giving Day capacity, that gives you a lot of ability to keep on fundraising no matter what happens in the future. So I'm pretty sure all of your teams will have got something from More benchmarking. I dig into some of those insights if you haven't seen them. Very, very interesting. We shared just around Christmas. They shared 8 insights with us. Oh, lots of reasons here. Why did they give to the day, Tom? What do you reckon?
Well, we gave people a lot of reasons. I think one of the things that worked really well for us was having a theme that ran through everything that we did on the day, through all of our emails. And the theme that we went with was the centenary of the laying of the foundation stone of the Trem building, which is like our iconic campus building. And it was, the foundation stone went in 100 years ago to the day that we ran our Giving Day, which was a good way of leading into the story of the Giving Day and giving it a reason for existing beyond it being a festival of giving, as Paul has said. So we went and dug into our archives and found a lot of really interesting material about that event, and discovered that on the day the foundation stone was laid, there were gifts made by people that were there. I think someone had shown up with a check for £100,000 in their pocket. And there were loads of really interesting little stories that we were able to uncover from the archives, and it helped us to really sort of give everything a theme and title together and give it all a reason for existing, aside from us just saying it's Giving Day, so please give. We were able to give more reasons for why this day, which I think really helped us.
It did, didn't it? It kind of anchored our comms, and it was fantastic. I'm saying it was fantastic. That sounds a bit big-headed. I'm saying it was fantastic. I'm not saying we were fantastic. Maybe we were, but it was fantastic to have that theme to lean on, and to constantly refer to. So you got a little kind of montage of some of the young and old there. We had a proposition that we ran with throughout all our comms, and I mean, if you do. I mean, a lot of people do just do a Giving Day and say it's a Giving Day, and there's nothing wrong with that, is there? I guess, but
no, this was like, for us, it was just like another layer that we could build on top of. And obviously, we based our proposition around the foundations theme, and it just gave us another reason, another thing to talk to people about on the day.
Indeed,
and there was a lot of interesting stories, and it was a way of sort of sharing those too.
Indeed, and it was kind of gave that sort of like, it was like a narrative spine there that kind of sort of elevated a lot of what we said, a lot of what we wrote, and everything. And it's a lot of some people think that maybe younger alumni aren't that interested in heritage or some of the old stuff, but I think a lot of them find it quite reassuring. And if you mix it with a lot of the sort of up-to-date imagery as well, it can create a really nice blend. And we also tapped into some of the a lot of older alumni also, of course, like the heritage stuff. And we have a Nottingham Civic Society, and some of those members are on our executive board, and they saw it and they were really excited and asking for us to share some of our historical research. We did historical research. Would you say that's not? Well, I'd say it was historical research.
Yeah.
We were in the archives, so it was good, really good to find this stuff. And we'd say, look, if you're looking for a theme, what are you going to look for? Key dates in history, good. You got famous historical figures. Is there a funny story? Does your university have any in-jokes? These things I think would always help with a theme. If you can find one, why not use it? Why not use it? Because people need a reason to stop and read and listen to what you're saying.
So Paul's spoken a lot about why we did the day and the results that we got. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the detail as to what we actually did and how it all happened. A lot of this is about email, because email's super important for a giving day. So obviously quite a few of you have done multiple giving days, or at least done one. So you'll probably know quite a lot of this, but it's always interesting to see how other people have done it. So when we were told initially, to me, it was all brand new, a giving day. The whole concept of it was all quite new to me. So when I was told you want to send 10 to 15 emails over the course of 36 hours, it sounded like a lot. It sounded like a lot of work. It sounded like a lot of emails to be received by an individual. And yeah, it just sounded like an awful lot. So that was the recommendation. There are obviously some pitfalls with sending that many emails over that space of time, and we'll come on to that in a minute. But one of the things that we considered before sort of launching in was what our data and email performance looked like generally before going into a giving day. So obviously if you're sending alumni newsletters or emails to your alumni already, you'll know roughly where your open rates are and click-through rates and things like that. So you can, obviously the better place you are with your email program in general before a giving day, I feel like the better the giving day is going to be, because you've got that level of engagement there. So that was something that we did. One of the key things that we did in our email plan on the day was to ensure we had as many different voices involved as possible. So this is just a small sample of some of the emails that we had. So we had the Vice Chancellor starting off the day and finishing the day. We included some student voices. So we had Ira, who was a publicity officer at Nightline, so talking from their own perspective about what support for that cause could do. We had alumni messages. So Sally, who's actually an ex telephone caller.
Yeah.
So Paul was able to persuade her to be involved, and that's great because she also received a scholarship when she was a student, so she was able to talk about the longer term impact of a scholarship and really kind of add a different perspective there. But then we were also able to tap into I'll call them like more celebrities or like well-known alumni. So obviously during the pandemic, Professor Sir Jonathan Van Tam, now he was at the podium a lot, doing a lot of speeches, obviously became a very well-known figure. Since then, he's come back to work at the university, and we were able to use his voice and his recollections of being a student, and he was able to do a video for us and also lend his voice to one of our emails. So we felt like that was a really powerful thing to be able to do, and that was one of our better performing emails, where we had like an email from Jonathan Van Tam landing with people. So we used his name in the from name bit of the email as well, so that it created a sort of variety in the inbox for people over the course of the day. It wasn't just 10 to 15 emails all from the University of Nottingham. There was 10 to 15 emails, but they were from a lot of different voices. So yeah, doing that, I think, really helped get around that number of emails that we're sending. Another thing that we spent quite a lot of time looking at was the segmentation. So we segmented in quite a few different ways. I think this slide maybe covers this. This may give some people some flashbacks of their giving day experiences. You may have had something similar to this when you were running a giving day. So this is our email plan, or at least a snippet of it. And we had a variety of different ways that we segmented. So we segmented by geography for some groups. So we were looking at time zones and trying to communicate with people when they may be up effectively. We didn't want to be communicating with too many people in the middle of the night and things like that. We wanted to try and create a personalized experience as much as possible through the day. So that accounted for some of the segmentation. We also segmented with donors. We had just run prior to our giving day a direct mail campaign. So any donors who had given to that, we wanted to not bombard them with another series of asks so close to the direct mail campaign. So they were on a sort of lighter touch schedule, which you can't actually see on this screenshot, but they would have received far fewer emails than the total here. So because of all that segmentation, although we sent 9 emails over the course of the 36 hours, the average number that was received by an alum was 5. So that obviously again helped to just bring the average number received down. So making it slightly less bombardment in their inbox. But one of the ways that we also did that was through engagement-based segmentation. So we were quite conscious of potentially causing a bit of an issue for ourselves with spam filters and things like that in sending so many emails over a short period of time. So we wanted to make sure that people were engaging with the emails. So for some of the ones that we sent in the middle of the day, so in this schedule, it'd be like emails 3 and 4. We would be sending those to people who had only previously opened a giving day email that day. So it cut down the number of people who would go to their inbox and find a bunch of emails from us all unopened. We were only communicating with people who had already shown some level of engagement. With all of that helped to just bring the overall the average number down. And then automation was a big thing for us, because with all that segmentation, depending on how you typically manage your email campaigns, we typically would download from our database and then upload into our email service provider to send our emails. Doing that 9 times in a 36-hour window, trying to account for all those segmentation segments, it would have been it would probably been impossible. So we made use of automation that was available in our email service provider. We use a service called .digital, which I know a few other people do use too. There's a function in there which allows you to create segments. So we did one upload, and then over the course of the day just re-uploaded smaller data sets just to update and refresh the data. And it was also allowing us to run our engagement-based segmentation, because all of that data was available in the email service provider. So I think without that, we wouldn't have been able to do the level of segmentation that we did do. So that was a bit of a game changer for us, really. And then one of the things that we wanted to do to just make things more engaging, feel live, and like involve people in the day, really, was to include elements from the platform in the email campaigns themselves. So we recreated some of the elements of the platform in an email. So the donor wall and the challenges, we'd update these just as we would just prior to sending the campaigns, so that it was as live as possible. So things like the challenges, we wanted that to be as up to date as possible, so people felt like it was live and really of the moment. Things like the donor wall, we were able to just put cherry pick a few nice comments and include them in the emails. We put some gift amounts on there as well, just to give a sense of what people were giving. And that proved to be some of the most engaging content that we had in our emails. So it's definitely worth including, gets people on the platform, and then some of those will definitely convert as well. So that was a good thing for us to learn. But yeah, as I said at the start, there are a few pitfalls to consider, and we consider the pitfalls to be a bit of an elephant in the room. The main one being the number of unsubscribes that you can get from sending this many emails to and fundraising emails to in this short space of time. So it's worth addressing at the earliest possible point in your planning, I think, as to how you can go about mitigating against the number of unsubscribes you might get. So a lot of the things that I've just talked through that we did all mitigated against the number of unsubscribes that we could have potentially got. We did end up with more unsubscribes than we'd like, and we'd like to reduce that further going forwards. But yeah, the things like the segmentation and reducing that overall number of emails sent will definitely bring that number down. We did also, I think maybe on the next slide, we offered a bespoke option for the giving day for people to just opt out of giving day emails. So that we included that blue box out in every single one of the emails that we send, offering people that option to opt out. We did have people use that, but we didn't. I think we could have strategically used it in the email slightly better than we did. So we tried to call it out in a big blue box, but I think that had the opposite effect to what we'd like it to have and wanted. So we could include this more closely aligned with where you might typically find an unsubscribe button in an email. And also we'd like to, we're planning to implement more preferences this year too. So that will hopefully all help with that issue. And then I think the one other thing that we were thinking about was the post 2013 generation, whether we include them in maybe some of our lower volume segments, just to because that was where most of our unsubscribes came from.
Yeah, there were a lot, but well, I think that they're relatively speaking, we got some very nice gifts from that group as well. So it's a real it's a real balancing act, because I mean, how wonderful is it to get a gift from somebody under 30? It's fantastic, isn't it? You know, you're getting new blood into the system. Yeah, people ready to give a lifetime of support. It's getting the balance right.
I'd say that like we know so much more now from doing a giving day and being able to see the data and seeing which emails triggered people to unsubscribe, which are the ones that perform the best in terms of conversion, and all of that data that we've now got available, that for our second one, we will definitely be able to reduce our unsubscribe rate. Hopefully we'll also be able to, on the other end, increase the conversion rate as well. So but without that data, you can follow we did as much as we could, but now we know an awful lot more that we're able to implement.
And those of you considering or thinking of your next one, if this insight, if you don't have it already, is useful for you, then great. So post 2013, we're thinking of a smaller number of emails going to them, perhaps. I think definitely. And
it's another thing that we can try and see how it performs. But we have a whole suite of different things that we'll do, not specifically to just tackle unsubscribes, because naturally a lot of the things that you do to tackle that is also hoping to increase engagement and make the experience better for all alumni, really. So that's the idea.
It's an interesting one, but overall the amount was more than we wanted, but it was something we could cope with and work on. So it didn't spoil the day for us.
No,
but
and then just going into some of the other potential pitfalls, I think Paul's already mentioned it's a very public space to be putting yourself out into, and we've got people coming to our platform to see if we've hit a challenge or see if we've reached our target. So there is in some ways potential for reputational damage. I think it's a fairly low risk activity in that sense, but there's always a chance that your giving day won't be as successful as you like, or won't reach the target. So that's just something to think about, I guess.
And there's I mean you'll want to get get your security right and everything, but that's all obviously Hubbard are really good with that kind of thing. So
and then I guess one of the things that we wanted to highlight, because we were successful with it, was that we entered our giving day into some awards called the Dotties, which we were successful in winning, which is great. It's an email marketing award. So we were quite happy with that, especially given what a giving day is all about and how sort of alien that might be for some corporate email marketers. But this was
who did we beat?
Oh, Warner Brothers.
Warner
Warner
Brothers.
Brothers were in our category, so yeah, we were quite happy to
Mm.
come out on top with them.
And Ordnance Survey.
Ordnance 72, yeah.
Yeah. They're responsible. They liked the responsibility of our marketing. That's what.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Responsible Marketing Award that we
Mm.
won. Yeah.
So you can do this sort of thing and come across as very responsible. Just want to say that, and I think yeah, we're responsible people anyway. I'm sure you know that anyway. But I'm just saying the responsible side of what you're doing can really come across nicely here. It doesn't have to be a kind of pushy or sort of, you know, pushy kind of thing or anything. You can do it in a way that really works for your audience and stands up for people of every generation. Like I said, the most senior and the most and the entry level supporters and people who just graduated, all kinds of people were very behind us.
Yeah. Do you want to take this question? Is it worth?
Was it worth? Have we given it away already? I hope we haven't, have we? Because will we? We promised a prize for the first correct answer. Where would the answer go? Would it be the first person to say the correct answer in the chat gets a prize? But what would that prize be? I don't. Sorry, we had a prize. We had a prize for a presentation we did at a regular giving conference. Well, I guess we'll have to post them a prize, won't we?
Yeah, we can post.
We've got some very collectible. We've got some very collectible University of Nottingham postcards that show vintage postcards, a Monty Python, some bands and things like that. People who played at Nottingham in the 70s, and really nice. We'll send you some of these. And should we send them a pandemic relic as well? We have a Fray Bentos pie from the pandemic that was never consumed, and we'll send that to you as well, along with these highly collectible postcards. For the first person who types either yes or no, whichever one is correct in the chat. Yeah. Okay, so you've got somebody's probably put something in the chat already. Shall we? Yeah,
you can reveal that now.
Yeah. Oh, I don't use your Mac much. I don't use Macs. Oh, I wanted to check the chat.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Oh, did anybody actually who was first? Oh my God. How exciting. Do you want to know who that's?
I think I'm not sure what is it. Yeah. Katie Tyler, I think you've won yourself some lovely postcards.
And a Fray Bentos.
You'll have to get in touch with Paul and give him your address.
Congratulations. It most certainly was worth it.
Yes.
It was.
I think you might have covered that.
Oh, we covered it already. Thanks, Tom. All right. Is it Q&A time now?
Yeah, I'll get some questions. Oh, I think that thoroughly just made my Thursday afternoon. I think that you two should take the show on the road.
Okay.
Great. Congratulations, Katie, fellow Giving Day runner. She works at Benedin School, who did their first Giving Day last year. So I'm sure she shares some of what you said to the audience today and maybe learned something as well. Yes, if you have a question for Tom or for Paul, please put it into the Q&A. I'll have a quick look through the chat and see if anything made its way in there, but if you can put them into the Q&A, that would be great. I think while we're waiting for some of those questions, this session, I think, was quite useful because these are some of the questions that you ask yourself or a team might ask themselves before they even consider doing a giving day, and they kind of jump to the end and think, would it be worth it, before they even maybe start thinking about the planning. So it's great to hear that your answer is yes, that it was worth it. And spoiler, you're thinking of doing another one this year?
Yep. Yeah, we certainly are.
Yeah.
No one's going to stop us. Nothing can stop us doing another one.
And I think what this is really useful for as well is sometimes teams might want to do a giving day, but they're kind of met with some objections to running that. So that's a lot of emails to send. Okay, valid point. Let's talk about that. Or it's very public. It's very risky. We're putting ourselves out there. Okay, valid point. Let's talk about it. So the point that you make about talking about these things, addressing them early on, addressing the elephant in the room, trunk and all, is really important so that you can put everybody's mind at ease. You can think about the challenges that may come up, plan for them, and have enough time to go through all of that so that everybody's on board. And if something else comes up along the way, you can deal with it as it comes across, because everybody's in a nice mindset about trying to solve problems, not fall into the problems. So I think that's really useful. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I'm very glad to hear that it was worth it. All right, we've got some questions. We've got a lot of questions. I'll try and get to as many as we can. We've got 15 minutes. So this first question is about student involvement. So just a quick question to see if you involve students in this first year in the kind of exposure of the Giving Day. And if you did, kind of how did you get them on board? You alluded to it a little bit.
Yeah.
And did any students give?
Ooh, we got like just a couple of guests from students.
I think there was
didn't we?
one student.
Was it
who
just
gave-
the one? Yeah. So
yes, we had a student give.
which is something.
Yeah.
But laying that aside, I mean, we didn't focus on student giving. Maybe there's potential there, but the value we saw from the students was that free energy that we mentioned earlier. You know, you have all these people that your audience is more interested in than anything else, and a lot of these people they will want to get the exposure for their society, or for their idea, or for their cause. If they're very strongly with it, they'll want to get that exposure on your Giving Day. Now, it was kind of, to start with, for our causes, our mental health support of the Students' Union course was very much a student-driven cause, and so the students were there to give us material and everything. Very useful. The other thing, engaging societies to build up that content. The cheerleading society came forward, and this, I have to be honest with you, this was a little bit of an afterthought when we'd nearly finished everything. It's like, let's approach these student societies. We drew up a list of student societies. We sent out some emails. It was late in the day, and a lot of them had started going home. This was the summer. Unfortunately, we caught the cheerleading society before they went home, and they got together to do one last performance for us. So
I think, as you said, we're thinking about doing another. This is something we'd like to do more of, is engaging the students earlier on. We did engage them for a lot of like all of our communications. They were engaged in, like, obviously scholarships and cascade student projects, things like that. But
I think that's a really nice approach in the first year, to say, you know, we're not going to concentrate on getting them to give. We're just going to try and involve them in whatever way that we can. So getting them to share their stories, be a part of our content for the day, emails, social medias, or, you know, anything else that they can do. And then in the years that follow, we'll build on that and keep building and keep building. But this year we just want to keep it simple and just try and get some involvement. And that, you know, you don't need to do everything in your first Giving Day, so that leaves something for future years. So I think that's really great. Okay, so the next one is about opt-ins. Favorite topic in Giving Days and other fundraising campaigns, consent. So did you rely on a soft opt-in to email, or had the people you emailed already opted into fundraising asks prior to Giving Day?
Well, so kind of a bit of a hodgepodge of
so I mean, I think
consent.
Generally our email consent, when we've got it, is all encompassing. So we wouldn't necessarily get a specific opt-in for fundraising at the point that they sign up, but we would have that consent at the start. When we move to our model with preferences, we'll still get that consent at the start, but if someone wants to opt out, then they'll be able to do that different categories. One of them will obviously probably be fundraising, and we did offer that that opting out of Giving Day as well this time round. But our lists are all made up of people who have already consented to email, just they haven't specifically consented to fundraising email. I think that's probably the simplest answer I can think of.
A more holistic approach.
Yes.
Not specific. Okay. So I'm going to save that one for the end, this question, so I'm just going to skip ahead. So can you share some examples of feedback that you received from the donors, particularly those that you mentioned hadn't ever engaged before, and what encouraged them to give this time?
Wow, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, I know you spoke to a few of them, so I'm sure you.
Yeah.
do
Oh
that.
gosh. Well, okay. I mean, well, we got the donor wall is great for this because you will get to collate hundreds of responses. The hub of functionality there is just great. I mean, I could reel off some of the quotes from there, and many of them were lovely little quotes, and some of them were quite similar to one another. Digging a bit deeper and speaking to people, I found some really good motives. Let me see. The person that I alluded to earlier, the representative of a foundation, they simply said it was really good for you just to create a moment to give, because I'm always happy to give. I just want you to create a reason. I haven't got time to sit down and work out what the reason is. I haven't got time to open something up, read something and think about it. I've got such a busy life. You give me a reason, it's there. Now's the time to do it. I'll do it. And we got that from, we got that from the representative of this foundation. We had another alum who's in a very, very senior role, graduated about 20 years ago. And he just had no interest in the university whatsoever. He actually found us quite annoying, to be honest with you. But then it was the cause that did it, and we just made it really simple for him. He just doesn't have a lot of time. He's rushed off his feet all the time, and the sheer convenience. It wasn't just people in a rush though. There are people who are already engaged with us, of course, as well, and we were just doing in some cases, it was a case of us just doing a bit more of what we're already doing well, bringing to life the things they're quite familiar with. Some people bought into some of our deeper messaging as well. Some people spoke of, the foundation idea, the foundation theme, I think a lot of it impacted on people almost subconsciously or unconsciously in some respects, but some people picked up on that metaphor literally and spoke about the importance of building connections, the importance of building potential, and how much they found it. Sorry.
That's okay. The joys of sharing university rooms.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Somebody's teaching in here in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, a really wide array of wonderful motives.
Great. So just a little bit about the staffing. Obviously we have you two here telling us about the day, but who behind the scenes was helping you? What did the team size look like for supporting Giving Day?
Yeah, I mean, we had
project
so
group,
there was there was a broader project group that we had. Like Paul said, probably about a dozen involved in that. But then we had quite a small group of people really that worked on the project in a more dedicated sense. So that was probably, I don't know, maybe five, six people that were working on it day to day. So it was quite a small team, and we might expand that slightly going into our second day, just to allow us to do some things a bit differently, and probably just make it a little bit less stressful. It's a lot. It is a lot for a small team, and I think the first time you do one as well, it's the not knowing exactly what you're going to do until it comes up to doing it, and then you're going to do it. So there's a lot of figuring things out. I'm expecting it to be a lot smoother second time around.
We think, very steep learning curve.
But now that you've had that learning curve, how do you feel kind of going into the second one? Has that kind of curbed stress or concern?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like now that we know what we're doing, and now it's about building on that rather than not really knowing exactly how to play things or what to do. There's a lot of learnings that we've had from that first one. And the fact that it's all digital means that we've got all the data to support everything that we're doing as well. So we can look at the analytics, we can see what emails have performed well, what emails didn't perform well, like right into the detail of it. So there's a lot that we've learned from that makes it a lot easier going into the second one.
Great.
Saying that now, we haven't seen the results of the second one yet, but it feels like it's easier.
It does. And I think in terms of when you do something successful, you'll get more interest from more people, of course. In some respects, maybe there's more trust there, but there's a bit more interest as well. So we do have to take on board more. We have to coordinate perhaps a few more people, more people's interest within the department. But that's a positive thing. That's more people ready to do more stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think sometimes the first one is about kind of doing the proof of concept. And then with the second one or the ones that follow, then you can say, okay, we did this. This part of it went really well. And if we were able to add more resource here, we could do even more with it. Or if we were able to involve these parts of the institution or of, the cause, then we could involve these parts into the giving day. And then sometimes people are maybe they want it to be successful and then they'll come forward. So you just have to have that kind of proof point within the institution to then just get more people to come forward. And that's the benefit of having that confidence from year one, is that you've done that learning curve. So now you can welcome more activity in for the second year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do we have time for maybe a couple more questions?
I think so. I think our lecturer friend has left the room, so
I'm not fighting to get in. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. So you mentioned about doing video differently this year, the next year. Can you just talk a little bit more about what that might mean?
I can say what it might mean. We haven't thought too much about it yet, but the main difference will be that we won't. Well, we're not planning to yet go to an external provider for that. So we worked with an agency before, and it worked well. We were pleased with the video. We don't feel like it contributed enough to the ROI or really got enough engagement to warrant the expenditure on it. So we'd look to do something potentially more authentic, something potentially we've at Nottingham, our external relations team use a group of students, student content creators. So we'd potentially look to utilize them more than externals or anything like that. So it would feel more authentic and hopefully will be a much far reduced cost as well. But that's just like ballpark sort of ideas at the moment. We're still thinking about it.
Okay. And then so just two questions in one. So what were you most worried about, like right before Giving Day went live? But then what were you most elated about when it was over? Not, and the fact that it was over isn't the answer.
Well, that's good questions, aren't they?
I can say that beforehand was probably obviously like hitting the target.
Yeah.
Before we'd really got any donors, it was like we wanted to we wanted to start the day with about 10% of where we wanted to end up in terms of the number of donors, and I think we ended up with more than that, so that felt like an early relief that we were on a good path. But yeah, I don't know about after. What was most
elation? Oh my, there was a lot to be happy about. There was a lot to be. I think the amount of funds we brought in, I think, and the fact that it was so nicely spread. There were no kind of Cinderella causes just left in the background. Do you know what I mean? It was every cause did what it should. We knew scholarships would get the most, but all the other causes did it. And for me, knowing the mental health support, brand new cause, it's a brand new area of insight. A brand new area to focus on, and a lot of insights will say, put some resources into mental health for students, because fundraising for mental health for students, because it's really important. Seeing that lift off and seeing the younger alums, that 20 years younger on average, step up to the plate for that course is really exciting, and I think we can do much more with that one as well. So that was great.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today, for answering the questions, for waiting out. I'm just going to take a quick 30 seconds to just talk about what we've got coming up next. So next month for our March webinar, 16th of March, so a month from today, we'll be speaking to the team at the University of York. So they are Giving Day year 5 coming up. So if you're kind of wondering, like, this is year 1, what does year 5 look like? The University of York is a great team to hear about their experience. So we'll send out more information about that as we get closer to the time. As subscribers, you'll all be sent the link closer to the time. So no need to re-register. We also are going to bring back our blog and our newsletter next month. So keep an eye out for those if you are subscribed. And if not, you can do that on our website. And for now, that's it. Thank you so much to everybody who came today. I really appreciate taking a little bit of your time out of your afternoon to listen to our wonderful speakers. To Paul and to Tom, thank you so much for your speaking today, and just for doing a wonderful giving day and sharing your experience with everybody. I will follow up with you both after this, but I think that you might be waited out by some students quite soon. So we will leave it there. But thank you again, everybody, so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.